Hello there. What is going on, everybody? I'm coming to you today with a KeyForge video. We're talking about Mavericks. Are they good? You've probably heard of Mavericks. They're very, very rare in KeyForge. So what exactly are they, and are they good? Well, a Maverick is a card from one house that is going to show up in a different house in a KeyForge deck. And for the example we have right here is the Sanctum Knight Champion NFL, who is showing up in House Untamed in the example. And that's, it can happen. It's very rare, and I'd say it's on average for me about, you have like one Maverick in about 24 packs there or abouts. That's kind of my ratio, maybe 1 out of 30, give or take a little bit. So what does that mean? Does that mean it's good? Does that mean it's bad? Does it mean it's rare? Does it mean it's amazing? Does that mean I should sell this deck on eBay for $1 million? Here's what it basically boils down to. It could be good, could be bad, but we're going to take a look at what makes them good or bad, and some bad ones and some good ones. So I'm going to talk about all these things, but I also want to remind you guys there is still time to enter my huge Superstar Destroyer giveaway for Star Wars Armada. I am giving away a Superstar Destroyer in the form of a Cool Stuff gift card, which if you're only playing KeyForge, you could just use for more KeyForge decks or whatever you want from Cool Stuff. And all it takes to enter to win that is to become a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. It's as simple as that. That will be announced on about December 21st, so I am giving that away. And I run giveaways all the time, so even if you don't win that one, stay subscribed, keep entering, keep watching. Hopefully you get the next video. Hopefully you enjoy my content, and hopefully that's what brought you here in the first place, because I'm doing it for you guys. I'm also doing it for myself because I love these games, so I want to talk about them, and it's fun to do this stuff. So anyway, let's talk about Mavericks. So what is, what's good about these Mavericks, right? Not all Mavericks are good. Now, the images I'm going to show are the actual normal cards, but in theory, I'm going to talk about theoretical Mavericks, because I don't believe every card, period, can potentially be a Maverick. Like Pit Lord, for example, would be a terrible Maverick, especially if you didn't have House Dis, because you would play this guy and then you would instantly lose the game because you'd never be able to call, you'd never be able to call another house again, because you'd have to call Dis, but this guy might be Shadows, for example, so you'd never be able to use him. So there are certain cards that you really don't want as a Maverick. There are a lot of cards that specifically want to work within their own house that won't work very well. So a lot of Mars cards actually will not work very good as Mavericks. There are some that will be very good as Mavericks, but overall, the vast majority of Mars cards don't want to be Mavericks, just because of the fact that they're a house that's designed to synergize completely within themselves. There are also a lot of cards that would be like a War Drummer might be bad if he was outside of Brobnar, because he would return Brobnar creatures to your hand, and then you wouldn't be able to play them again because you didn't call Brobnar, you called whatever the Mavericks house was. So there's a lot of examples of cards that are just bad idea to be Mavericks. But another bad idea to be a Maverick is a card that already does something that everybody else can do, like maybe just a regular damage action that's just going to do some direct damage to somebody. It could be good, especially if it ends up in a house or a deck that has very little of it, and that's fine. But things that, like, there's maybe board clearing cards can sometimes be good, especially if it's the only one you have in that deck. But if you've got Dis and Brobnar and a lot of board clearing cards, and then you get a Maverick of another board clearing card, you kind of have to look at the situations. But what I'm going to talk about is what makes the best Mavericks, in my opinion, of course, and this is still kind of early, but what I think is going to make the best Mavericks are things that are kind of unique. So let's talk about some of those. Arise is kind of unique because it's getting a whole lot of stuff. It's not totally unique because there are other cards to pull stuff out. Horseman, for example, can pull other Horsemen out. Untamed has a couple things that can pull a card here and there out. But Arise can get a whole lot of stuff out. And so Arise is really good in Dis decks that have a lot of creatures, right? Well, suppose you get Arise in Sanctum, and you also have a lot of knights in there or something like that, and now all of a sudden maybe you get Epic Quest 2, or all of this. There could be a lot of synergy if you get Arise as a Maverick in any other house that happens to also have a lot of creatures for that house, because it allows for a ton of synergy. Phase Shift would be a really cool one. I don't know if this one could potentially. I'm not sure if any card that mentions a specific house is eligible to be a Maverick, because let's say you had Logos in your deck. and you got phase shift in a different house, you basically it'd be much less useful. But in theory, if you got phase shift in a deck that didn't have logos, it would be it would be pretty nice, and also it'd be kind of outside of it's one of those rare cards that lets you just totally break house for whatever you want for one card. So this could be a really cool one. And the thing is about phase shift, again, it's going to depend on your deck, and a lot of these, even like the best one in the wrong deck won't be as good, but this one could potentially set up some unbelievable combos if it was outside of house logos. So would love to see a Maverick of phase shift. Control the weak, another unique kind of effect. You know what? You must choose this house. Boom. Now it works great. It's a great card. It's one of my favorite cards in the game. But imagine this on a different, because maybe you want to set up something. Maybe I want to go shadows and steal all your stuff, and then I know you already played all your Mars cards, or and I wiped out all your creatures, and now I want to force you to play Mars again because I'm pretty sure you don't have any Mars cards left in your hand. But maybe this is the only. It's nice to. This would be a great one because this one does something unique. Having it outside of house could set up really great combos. Could set up really cool power turns. Would love to see Control the Weak as a Maverick. Bulwark, or a lot of the other knights, could potentially be good, but I chose this one particularly because not only does he have 2 armor, which is really nice, he's also granting armor to his neighbors. So here's, and similarly, like the Grey Monk is also another cool one. But anybody who is granting armor, well, not that many factions have armor. Like Mars has a little bit, Sanctum has a lot, but a lot of these other, Brobnar has, I think, 1 or 2 that have armor, but most creatures don't get armor. So if you get Bulwark on something like maybe Untamed or Shadows, that would be amazing because you could sit there and give your other creatures armor, and it'd be really nice. Similarly, Banner of Battle for Brobnar, right? Get this in Shadows, and now all those little 1-power creatures that could be wiped out really easy, now they're all 2-power creatures, and be really, really cool. But again, this one isn't restricted to a specific faction. This one would be really nice outside of, if you just didn't have Brobnar and you had 3 factions of weaker creatures, boom, here's something that was like a unique, only Brobnar had this, and now all of a sudden you can have this. This would be great. I would love to see something like this, especially for Untamed to be able to get access to this. They have a lot of skirmish creatures that +1 power might be really nice over there. A great one. A lot of cards actually from Logos. I didn't include all of them, and I'm just talking about some that I think would be great and why I think they could be great. Mother is got one of those unique effects that's saying, hey, you get +1 card every turn. So this is going to synergize with 100% of decks out there because everybody wants more cards and access to more of their stuff. So anybody else who can get Mother, that's going to be amazing. Absolutely amazing. Keyhammer, super unique effect. Oh, you already forged the key? Let's take that back. This one could be phenomenal, especially if you put it with, with Logos, or if this one ended up in Shadows. Oh, you forged the key? Oh, all right. Well, now bait and switch. Now let's keyhammer you and then miasma, so you can't do it again next turn. So many combinations, or effervescent principle. Now lose half. So many nasty things you can do here. Interdimensional graft, again, could totally work with cards like that we just played. Oh, you forged the key. All right, and let's miasma or slow you down, or slow you down. Okay, or slow you down. You get so much amber now. Poof. Now you go ahead and forge that key. Now I'll take all the rest. Just so good. To be able to combo that with stuff outside of house is hard to do. It's a little easier for Logos because they can always play phase shift and then put 1 in there. But if you have this in the other house already, you don't even have to rely on those, all those points converging and allowing for a super combo. If it's in the house already, it's much easier to get a super combo. I really like this one. And maybe one of the best cards in the game to be able to do library access. One of the best cards in the game, period. But again, having this one outside of house has the potential to be absolutely killer. Imagine having a library access in Dis, and then you've got a Rise and a bunch of Dis creatures. You could have a freaking crazy turn where you just go through your whole deck. You in theory, you know, like boom, 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 boom. Oh, and I play all this stuff, do all this stuff, right? Oh, and now, you know, gateway to desk, clear the board, you know, and then oh, arise, pull everything back, you know, just I'm kind of going crazy here, but like the combos that this could set up, because library access, like while it is already very, very strong in-house logos, and it's a great house for it to be in, there's limits because a lot of logo stuff is all about getting your archive ready and drawing a lot of cards and preparing for like that next turn. So it's like almost like a really powerful for support. Granted, logos has creatures too, and they can still, you know, win games on their own. But I think of this card, you know, in a lot of ways as like a really, you know, setting up for that following turn and making sure that you've got all the pieces laid out for the next turn to be the big turn. But if this isn't another faction, you could have the big turn right now. Just insanity. Really cool. Miasma. Again, stopping people from forging their keys. There's not too many ways to do that. This is you know, similar to like Key Hammer, taking back a forge. You know, this just factors into so many things. Having this in Dis, for example, you know, you could combine Key Hammer and Miasma. All kinds of cool stuff. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is stuff that is like unique to one faction, one house. If you can pull that over, then that's a really, really good Maverick. Most cards, though, are not these. Most cards are not unique or super special, and so you're like, oh, this creature against +1 power, oh, the big deal. You know, it's not as big of a deal. You know, oh, here's a creature with 3 power and skirmish, and that I have in a different house. Well, that's kind of cool. It's not that great. You know, some of those things aren't all that great. Granted, there's not always, but there's often some type of combo to make those things work. But there are also like certain creatures that just come into play, and when you know, like Sergeant Zakael, and then there's also a Brobnar creature that come into play, ready and fight with a neighboring creature. Almost the exact same thing is in both 2 different houses under 2 different names. So like those aren't as cool to get outside of house, you know, outside of faction. Bait and switch would be amazing. I know this one. I've seen a deck with a Maverick bait and switch before. It can be done. It's amazing because people are always fearing shadows for bait and switch. Bait and switch may be the best card in the game, right? People are always on the lookout. If you've got shadows and they're like, oh, I better hold on. I better be careful. How much amber do I really want to generate? If you have bait and switch outside of house, you know, first off, it sets up a crazy amount of combos, but also, you know, you're going to catch your opponent off guard. So, I mean, really, Restringuntus. Freaking love this guy, right? Problem is he's kind of hard to protect. You know, I was playing a game the other day with the Restringuntus, and I wanted to protect him, and I knew that if I put him out, it was going to definitely mess with my opponent. They were going to try to kill him. So what I really wanted to do was to have him out with somebody that could protect him. Maybe a Sanctum Knight, like a Bulwark, right? Having Restringuntus in Sanctum would have made it easier. I could play the Bulwark, play Restringuntus right next to him. But I would, or next to a Shadow Self. So I was playing the Dis with Shadows, and I would put out a Shadow Self to protect Restringuntus, but I would call it Shadows. So the next turn I have to play Restringuntus, and then all of a sudden, you know, then it comes in, and my opponent goes, they kill the Shadow Self before I can play the Restringuntus. Can't do the power turn. So the very following turn, you know, I try something else, you know. But if I had Restringuntus and Shadows, then in theory I could play a Shadow Self, put Restringuntus right there, have him out for a couple of turns, he's protected, you know, there he goes. But again, also people aren't going to expect that to be coming, so it's just really, really cool. I'm a big fan of a lot of these. We've talked about library access already, but so basically, to summarize, I don't think just because something's a Maverick that makes a deck good, just because a deck has a Maverick that makes it good. With all cases, you definitely have to look at the synergy that's there, but my point is I think generally the best Mavericks are going to be those ones that do something that their house does that no other house can do. And now it brings a whole new opportunity into a new house. But let me know if you disagree. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out Crabbok.com, and you can hop into my Discord and say hi as well. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.